Chi-square test. This is a test used for proportions of a multinomial population. We hypothesize about proportions and we want to see if there is a significant difference of proportions between those levels from the hypothesized value. For example, if we do have just two levels, two groups in the population, and our hypothesis is that there's no difference between the two. So, when observing the differences, if the differences are too much, which is determined by a formula, then we can reject null hypothesis saying that proportions are the same, or fail to reject the null hypothesis because the difference of the two proportions is not much. So here, if we hypothesize that the proportion of one group is more than the other group, null hypothesis will be the proportions are equal, or the other group, the first group, is less than the second group. In any case, we use chi-square test to check for frequencies and see if they diverge from the expected frequencies. The formula we have for chi-square is simple. We get the frequencies of observations and expected frequencies. For example, our expected frequency for two parts of a population might be 50% if we hypothesize that the two levels are not different. So that 50%, if the observed frequency is different than 50%, the difference of them will be squared and then divided by expected frequency. That's the formula to calculate the chi-square number. There are standard tables for chi-square test depending on degrees of freedom. For example, if we do have a chi-square calculated as 12.28 and degree of freedom as 5, then we go to the row of degree of freedom 5 and move forward until we find a column where the chi-square standard number is less than the calculated 12.28. The largest number less than that, for example here, the calculated chi-square 1228 is less than 1283 but more than 1107. So we stop here at 1107. It's under the significance level of 0.05, 5%. So we'll say that with alpha level of 5%, this test shows significance. So we can reject the null hypothesis. Proportions observed are significantly different than those expected.